We are going to lead the programme with a bit of a focus on bank security. And that is because the UAE banking sector is preparing to phase out those very familiar one-time passwords. You know, they are the OTPs, which hilariously until now I didn't realise stood for one-time password. I thought it was some sort of special banking acronym. They're going to phase them out by March next year. But what is actually going to replace them? Well, at the moment, we actually don't exactly know. And that might be because each bank is going to do something different. But the experts say that this is all part of a wider fintech shift towards biometric and app-based security. So if that is the case, if it's a big trend, it looks likely to transform the way all of us interact with money and how we also protect our bank accounts, our cyber security. So what does it actually mean for customer safety? What does it mean for trust? What does it mean for the future of finance in our region? Well, to help make sense of all of that, I'm delighted to say we're joined in the studio by Arun Leslie John. He is head of the research department at Century Financial. Arun, thanks for joining me in the studio.
Hi, good morning, Kitty. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here. Okay, so tell me, why is the central bank pushing to phase out these OTPs, do you think?
Unfortunately, one-time password is not that secure. It sounds secure, but it's not that secure. SMS-based OTPs as well as email-based OTPs are vulnerable to hackers, hacking, and a lot of instances have been reported in UAE where people have been frauded.
Yeah.
So this has led to an increasing concern, especially, people have been impersonating Dubai police, people have been impersonating the banking officials to take money away from the accounts.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, and you know, the reason why I interrupt you there is because it happened in our family. It happened to my husband. He thought I'd ordered some sort of parcel that needed extra postage paid on it. He thought he was being a helpful husband. He paid the extra 6 or 15 dirhams or whatever it was. And when the OTP came, he put it in without double checking the sum of money. And he ended up putting an OTP in for 35,000 dirhams, which actually paid for a motorbike in Guatemala, apparently, or a motorbike company in Guatemala. And, you know, we never saw the money again. Like, that was a hit that we had to take because you ring the bank. And the reality is that if you put in the OTP, then you are responsible ultimately. And we never managed to get that money back. So, you know, within our family, we've been affected by this. How significant a shift for banking in the UAE do you think this is?
This is transformative, without doubt. I mean, UAE is one of the first geographies in the world to move over to this new system. I mean, in the world, we have the presence of Singapore as well as Malaysia, which are trying to migrate to the new system or have already migrated. And UAE is one of the first geographies in the region as well as among the first in the world. So definitely this will be more secure than the older methods, and a biometric based identification system cannot be easily be manipulated by cyber criminals.
So when you say biometric, what do you mean? You know, reading our face, reading our fingerprint, reading our iris, is it that type of thing?
It will most likely involve fingerprints as well as face recognition.
Oh, wow. So the double. Wow. I mean, that's quite technical.
Either one of the most likely.
And that will be on our phones kind of thing?
Yes, that will be on our phones. So, the transformation, it will not be without pain. There will be a transition time and there will be at least some customers who might, there are always people who don't like changes.
Well, yeah, and it's new tech, isn't it? So yes, we're all going to struggle to a certain extent.
So people who are not tech savvy, for example, older generation people, they might not be that tech savvy, or people who are in the lower end of the economic spectrum who don't have access to smartphones, they might also be having issues. So there will be some challenges during the transition, but this is a new system, and if there is any geography in the world in which it can be implemented, I think it is UAE. So,
do you think ultimately it will keep our money safer? Because I'm willing to go through a certain amount of pain and learning new systems if it means that half my that my bank account's not going to be cleared while I'm asleep?
At the moment, it looks safer.
Okay.
The new methods will be much safer. But the point to note is that people are getting subjected to frauds not because they themselves are not smarter. It's just that the cyber criminals or people who are scamming, they are getting more smarter. So when the new system comes, there is a possibility that new ways might be devised to again cheat the customers. Yes.
So obviously the UAE Central Bank is insisting that all the commercial banks do this in the UAE. Beyond security, what's actually in it for the banks? Because this will be costing them a lot of money to implement these new systems.
Without doubt. Implementing biometric enabled systems on a larger scale certainly requires a lot of investment. But thinking from the perspective of banks, we always think from the perspective of customers. Banks also are facing a lot of challenges. There are a lot of customer complaints that are going to banks to refund the money, saying that we have been cheated by this OTP scam or by SIM swapping or by phishing attack. So, banks tried their best to return the money in a lot of cases. But in many cases, banks face the challenge, which is the right transaction and which is not the right transaction. So, in the short term, it will be challenging for the banks to migrate to new systems. It will be more expensive. But in the long term, from a customer relationship perspective and from a cyber security perspective, it will be much better for the banks.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of frustration. I get cross when a valid bank transaction doesn't go through. Sometimes that happens when you're abroad and it gets flagged as suspicious, and then all of a sudden you can't buy the rug that you want to in Peru or wherever it is you might be. But equally, I think customers get very frustrated when a fraudulent transaction goes through and the bank sort of claims not to be able to track that, which always seems a bit weird because surely they must know the details of the bank account where that money has gone.
The issue with that is many times bank and even the law enforcement agencies here, they ask back, if you have shared the OTP with a person, then what can we do?
Yeah, that's the problem. If you hand over your PIN number, if you hand over your security details, then in that sense, in the formal sense, I suppose it's then not an illegal transaction.
Exactly. In the formal sense or in the legal sense, it might not be exactly illegal actually.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
So
is there anything that customers that, you and me, because you're a bank customer as well, I'm sure as well, what can we do to sort of prepare for this upcoming switch? Do we just have to wait for our bank to get in touch with us? I suppose we do.
Exactly. Wait for them to upgrade to the new apps. Make sure that the phone notifications, we enable the notifications from the banks. So those kind of minor stuff only. But again, some of the precautions customers might have to take is, now one challenge could be that we need to have internet access always to get these transactions done. If you are going to a remote area, maybe hiking in a remote part of UAE, maybe we could be facing an issue in executing a transaction.
So you might not be able to buy an expensive item when you're on the top of a mountain, which to be fair, I have been known to shop at all sorts of times. So you never know. But no, I completely get where you're coming from then. Arun, a really lovely sort of analysis there of what this means. I actually hadn't realised how far progressed it was, and how to what extent the banks were already making this transition. So really interesting stuff. Arun Leslie John, head of the research department at Century Financial. Thank you so much for your time.